Hey, it's Joe Farrow, Geek Toolkit. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about 4 engraving methods to help your laser engraving go to the next level. These are things I've learned over the years, and while they're not a complete tutorial list, if you're a beginner or struggling with engraving, I think these 4 are going to get you where you want to go. The first one we're going to talk about is image selection. Some images engrave really well. SVGs, outlines, text, anime, things that are basically simple lines or outlines engrave really well on their own. A lot of line art or pen art also will engrave well, but when you get into photos, you have to do some processing. I'm going to talk about some processing options, but first, when you're looking at photos to laser, I highly suggest choosing one with a really strong subject and a really high contrast. Your contrast is your light to dark ratio. What I mean by subject is if you have a picture of a dog in a car and you want the dog to stand out, that's a very easy definable subject to go after and to work on getting a really good engrave for. If you're taking pictures of a wildflower field in front of a mountain, much harder to get a good laser engrave out of. So just look at the subject of what you're doing. This is especially true on wood, where you're only going to have so many different tweaks that you can do to get this thing to come out. Now, once you have your subject and you have a suitable photo and you want to process it to make it even better, there's a number of options. One of them is doing it in photo editing software. You can use something like Paint.net, GIMP, Photoshop, anything that you desire. In this case, you would remove the background if it's extraneous and adjust the levels to try to raise the contrast and make sure that the gamma and brightness are set in a way that your subject is really popping. Another way to do this is if you're in Lightburn, you can actually adjust these in Lightburn itself. You won't be able to remove the background or edit the photo, but you can do some cropping and do some basic brightness and image editing in there. And then also it has what's called a dithering algorithm. Dithering algorithms, when our eyes perceive light and dark, the dithering algorithm will fake this by using dots. And if they're closer together, it looks darker. If they're further, it looks lighter. It will apply that to the photo to make it look like you have different shades on the wood. Now keep in mind, this dithering algorithm has nothing to do with the power that's applied to the laser at this point. These are just going to be dots that are spaced out. Another way to do this is to use some of the AI algorithms that have come out lately. One of these tools is Imagear. Now Imagear has been around for a long time as an algorithm-based enhancement, but they've recently added AI. And when they add AI, what you get is an entire workflow in one click. This workflow will do everything from setting the levels, cutting out backgrounds, converting it and dithering it, and then Imagear will actually go so far as to set it to a certain DPI level for you. That DPI level is the resolution of the photo, and when you process through Imagear and you actually go burn, you do not want to resize the photo. You want to do all that processing in Imagear, because when you go to burn the photo, you will just simply set Lightburn or whatever your software is to bypass. You don't want it to do any further processing. Another software that's made specifically using AI and for lasers is called VectorWitch. VectorWitch is neat because it has a couple of different things like being able to do line art or converting the photo a bit more to an artistic view and then processing it through AI to make it very successful for burning. One of the downsides of this, though, is when you add AI to this workflow, it's likely going to change faces or accuracy of the image you're burning. So you have to be very careful there. Another way to do it is in any of the LLMs. I've had a lot of success lately with ChatGPT being able to take a photo that I wanted to get converted through the workflow and getting back something that was dithered with the background removed. Sometimes it's very hard because the image is muddy and you're going to have to do something much more extreme. In this Castlevania image, I wanted to focus on my subjects as Simon Belmont with his whip and the Dracula that he's about to fight. My secondary objectives, of course, were the castle and the bats and the kind of scenery on the outside, but the mountains and such were giving me very muddy engraves. What I did here is I simplified the image to focus on my subjects. In this case, I was using VectorWitch. And then I was able to get a successful engrave that had my subjects in focus. The next part of this video, I want to talk about things to do to make sure your laser is ready for an engrave. Make sure your lens is clean. If the lens isn't clean, it's going to come out fuzzy no matter what you do with the rest of this video. Another thing is to adjust your focus. Now, I won't go into the way of focusing every single laser because a lot of them are very different, but for diode lasers, making sure the point is as small as possible by using a test fire at a low percentage is a very simple way to get this going. The other thing to check on is your belts. Make sure your belts are proper tightness. If they're too loose, it's going to look like the laser's had coffee, and it's going to make the lines very jittery. If they're too tight, you may not get the stepping that you expect, and you may get your resolutions be a little bit tighter than you want, which will create overlap. So make sure that the belt tightness is exactly where it needs to be. And again, this is going to be based on your laser manufacturer and how those belts get adjusted. Finally, the other thing that matters for laser prep is make sure your material is held down. Now, this isn't as necessary for slate, coasters, and tiles, but for wood, it's probably going to be a little bit wavy or bendy. And if it's not held down flat, then that focus work that we just did goes out the window. If the laser's unfocused, you're going to get fuzziness and you're going to get inconsistency. So apply some clamps. What I do is typically 3D print mine and use a honeycomb board. It's a very simple solution to hold it down in a very nice manner. The next thing we're going to talk about is the triangle of settings. There are 3 settings that you want to work on to nail your laser engraving: speed, power, and interval. The speed is going to matter because if it goes too slow, you'll end up with too dark of an engraving because you're going to get more energy in a smaller piece of the wood. Now, the speed, if you go too fast, you'll end up too light. The laser won't have enough time to actually burn into the wood. And you'll get a bit more jitter on some lasers because they can go so fast they'll shake themselves. The power matters because if a diode is too low power, it actually won't even turn on. Some diode lasers won't even fire at under 20%. And if it's too low, you may not get a full burning into the wood to actually make a clean line. If it's too high, you may burn into the wood, cut, or char it. And so you really want to find a balance there. Typically, speed and power are related in a way that higher speed and higher power work better together up to a certain point. And that's why you see what's called the material test grid. Lightburn has a way of doing this. There are many sold on Etsy, and there's some free websites for generating these. But basically what they do is vary speed on one axis, power on another, and generate a test grid that will go ahead and generate for you all of these squares. What I honestly find better than the test grid is starting out using Facebook Market or Facebook Chat, Reddit, or any of the social media sites, the manufacturer's recommendations, and so on to get a starting point. Then I'm not starting from scratch. I have an idea of about the middle of where I should be for the material I'm working on. And then I can do a much smaller, maybe a 9 test grid around that setting to find out where I need to be. I just find it much more useful than doing the typical 0 to 100% on one way and all of the speeds on the other. And it really dials it in a lot faster. Building on what other people have done builds the community, and sharing our settings and learning from others is why I do this. It's great because we all work together to increase our skill, learn, and make better engravings. Now, the third part of that pyramid was interval. Interval is like resolution. If you turn it too high, you won't get a really sharp engraving. If you turn it too low, you'll overload your engraving and you'll burn in, or you'll get basically a bad charred result. There are interval tests in Lightburn, and there are interval ways of testing your resolution. If you don't have Lightburn, then I would recommend testing different resolutions and interval settings to find out where you need to be to generate an image. I wouldn't use a square necessarily. I would use something like a test of an eyeball or some part of your actual photo itself. Test the interval then and dial that in. Keep in mind that if you have your speed and power already dialed in and you get your interval dialed in, you should be able to generate a portion of your image as a test and see that everything looks good. Once you're there, you're ready for the next step. The final step in this, once you've got it dialed into this point and your laser belts and focus and all that are good, is just kind of composing your image. If you're going to have text, make sure it's separate from the image you're engraving. If you're going to do a cut on the outline, make sure that's a separate layer. You want to keep everything separate from the image you're engraving. That way, all of your different powers and speeds are going to affect things differently. I typically do text engraving at a different speed and power than I do my actual images because I find that line engraving, like text usually does for me, is going to be a little bit different. Now, if your text is very fancy and it almost looks like an image itself, you may want to use the same settings, but I would still do it as a separate layer so that you can dial it in separately from the photo that you are working on. A couple of final tips and tricks. If you see black engraving on wood, that's typically done with borax or baking soda. Don't let them tell you that's just a laser setting. That's typically painted on. They mix it 1 to 10 with water. They paint it on, it dries clear. And then when you burn, you get a blackened look to it. Make sure you finish that with some kind of clear coat or sealant because it typically is very sooty when it's done. Another tip is if you do something in Imagear, make sure you don't resize it. Imagear will set the resolution to the resolution that it's expecting. If you resize it, you're probably going to end up screwing up the resolution and you won't get what you're expecting out of it. If you want to see the best your laser can do as far as resolution and everything, I highly recommend trying a Norton white tile method. I won't cover it in this video, but basically think of a tile that's been painted with with spray paint, certain spray paints, and then engraved into that. And basically, because you have no wood grain, you're going to get a very, very clean burn out of that. It also is a very black engrave. It looks really good. Higher wattage does not necessarily mean better. If you have a very high watt laser, especially diode lasers, the way diode lasers work is if it's over 5 watts, they add a second laser and they're using prisms to focus the lasers on top of each other. The problem with that is you're going to end up with a bigger dot size, less resolution. So I find a lot of lasers that have multiple, like 20, 30 watts are going to go down to a resolution of maybe 314, 254 DPI. And that's going to be a lot lower resolution than a very, very small laser like a 2.8 watt laser that can do a very tight beam. And that laser is the only beam hitting the surface. When you see these really, really high level engraves, they're typically done with collimating lenses and 2.8 watt lasers. So don't think that more power is going to do better or higher speed. Typically, a lot of the really good engraves are done slow speed, special lens, low power laser. It's a much more advanced topic, and honestly, I haven't gotten there yet other than doing the research to understand that that's where those are coming from. Another thing is, if you're engraving a wood, keep in mind where your grain pattern is. If you're doing a landscape, you might want to have your grain pattern going horizontal and just have it blend in a little bit. Your grain pattern can really mess up your engravings or really conflict with them, so be aware of that. All right, that was a lot. Hopefully that's going to help you increase your skill level. If you have questions, please put them in the comments and I can handle them along with the community as best we can. Also, if I missed something or you have tips or learned something, please share it with the community because people that come in this video are looking to learn, and the comment section can be more valuable than the video on just having people help each other out with tips and tricks. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joe Farrow. Until next time.